El Dorado Hills is nestled into the Sierra Nevada foothills just east of Sacramento, and it's cherished for many things. Its community feel, its neighborhood events, its great schools. But did you know that El Dorado Hills is not a town or a city? It's actually an unincorporated area. And there are some people that believe that this area should not just be unincorporated, but it should actually be a city. In today's video, we're going to take a look at what cityhood means, what the proponents would say, what the opponents would say, and even a comparison of another city that did the same thing. As always, I'm John Jackson, your friend in real estate here in El Dorado Hills. I'm happy to help you and your family anywhere in the Sacramento area, anything real estate related. I hope this channel provides education for you and good resources to help you make a decision on finding the best place for you and your family to live. Now, let's dive in. So let's start by explaining the matter at hand. El Dorado Hills is currently an unincorporated area, meaning everything from law enforcement to road maintenance to zoning, that's all taken care of by the County of El Dorado, which actually stretches from El Dorado Hills all the way up to Lake Tahoe. So there is an exploratory committee that's been set up to explore the idea of making El Dorado Hills an actual city. This is not the first time that this has happened. This was also explored back in the early 2000s and it ended up not taking place. If El Dorado Hills were to become a city, that means it would set up a local government. So a mayor, a city council, possibly a new law enforcement setup, and a lot of things would change in regards to how the city itself is set up governmentally. Part of the reason why this is coming up again now is because of a lot of rapid growth, a lot of development concerns with the south side of 50 being developed so much, especially in the Folsom Ranch area. El Dorado Hills has a small town feel, it has a community vibe, and people that live here want it to stay that way and want to just make sure that the things that make this place special keep this place special. So with that explaining cityhood, I'd like to go through some support and opposition to this issue so you can get an idea of what we're dealing with and what people think on either side of it. I'm just going to go through and explain some things and let you decide for yourself what you think. So people that support El Dorado Hills becoming a city, one thing they would say is that it would give us more local control. A lot of things that take place in El Dorado Hills and the decisions that are made actually are made by the county and are made by people that don't even live in El Dorado Hills. Folks would say, well, I don't want decisions about El Dorado Hills being made by people that live 20, 30, 40 miles away, and that's why they would want to make it a town or a city. Second, supporters would argue about tax revenue. They would want their tax revenue to go directly to El Dorado Hills, say property taxes and sales tax, to come right to our town instead of going to the county. They figure that this could make for better roads, better services, and better management of the town that's created in El Dorado Hills with the tax dollars that are provided by El Dorado Hills residents. Thirdly, supporters would point to public services. This would be things like law enforcement, park services. Supporters would say that a city government would do a better job of tailoring those services to this place's needs and do a better job of serving the people that live right in El Dorado Hills, rather than a county making decisions for one place within that county that they may not know enough about. Finally, supporters would also say that El Dorado Hills has its own community identity, and they would like to recognize that because it has its own unique feel, and making it the town of El Dorado Hills would make it an extra special recognition that a lot of people think that it deserves. So you might say, well, why would you oppose that? Well, let me tell you, there are several reasons why people would oppose and do oppose the incorporation of El Dorado Hills as a town. The first one is money. Running a town, running a city costs money. People that oppose this believe that it would lead to higher costs, new taxes that this area has not had before and that we're not prepared for, and that the revenue would not actually match up with the costs that are involved in running a new town of El Dorado Hills. The second reason for opposition would be government growth. Creating a city requires hiring a city manager, adding a bunch of new government, hiring a new police force, whereas currently El Dorado Hills is overseen by the sheriff, and all of those things add together to add more bureaucracy, and opponents of this change would say, no more bureaucracy, no extra government, let's keep it the way that it currently is. The third case for opposition would be a service disruption. So the services for this community are run by the Community Services District of El Dorado Hills, and opponents of this change for this reason would say, well, Community Services District does a great job and let's not change that. They're doing just fine and there's no reason to upset the apple cart and change things. Let's keep things going the way they are. They believe that a service disruption would take place if you try tried to enter in the city factor and change the way that services are offered to the residents of El Dorado Hills. Finally, the fourth reason for opposition, people would say, well, we took a look at this in the early 2000s and the viability was just not there at that time. So why would it be there now? They just fear that not much has changed and there's no reason to make that change now to try to become a city. So that's some of the for and against for Cityhood for El Dorado Hills. I'd love to see in the comments maybe some of the ones that I may have missed and some of the positives, negatives that you feel before we continue on here in this video. So one question you may have is, has another town done this same thing and how has it worked out for them? A great example will be the town of Lumis over on the 80 side of Folsom Lake. They incorporated back in 1984 for the same reason that El Dorado Hills is considering an incorporation. They wanted to keep their small town feel. They were worried about urban sprawl, growing too fast, becoming too big, and they wanted to have some more local control. So they incorporated and became a town. It gave them the ability to control zoning, to limit housing development if they wanted to preserve open space in areas where they wanted to have that. Some people would say, well, Lumis is a much smaller town, so that doesn't really compare to El Dorado Hills, and that could be true as well. But it's at least an example of what was a small area that was unincorporated, that wanted to keep that small town feel, became incorporated as a result. Although it might not be an exact perfect comparison because of the size, the town of Lumis has stayed small and been able to control locally the things that take place in that cute little town. So where does this currently stand? This currently stands in the exploratory phase by a committee that's checking into the feasibility of this process. If all that goes through, which in the early 2000s it did not, then it will move on to a vote of the residents of El Dorado Hills, and then it will be just a simple majority vote for yes or no for El Dorado Hills to become a town. So if you want to get involved along the way, you can contact the local CSD, the County Board of Supervisors, or attend local meetings, make your voice heard about the way you feel this issue should go. So this is a big conversation for El Dorado Hills, and it's just getting started. Cityhood could bring some big changes, or things could stay just how they are. Either way, it's good to stay educated about what's happening. Let me know what you think in the comments. Would Cityhood be good for El Dorado Hills, or do you think it should stay just like it is? Thanks for watching. Click subscribe on my channel if you would like more updates on life in El Dorado Hills and the Sacramento suburbs. I've got more great content coming. See you next time.